Howdy, howdy, howdy. This is Rodfather. This is a brief two-parter. Won't be that long because I'm long-winded. I was at my corner store. I forgot when I went in there, and I'll explain why. I don't know if I went in to buy some juice or a lotto ticket, but I was standing in line. Maybe it was a lotto ticket. I was standing in line, and there was this young Filipino girl, somewhere between 12 and 14. And she said something in Tagalog to her mother, but her grandmother was there. And whatever she said, her grandmother pushed her into where the sodas was, into the soda machine, to the point where one of the doors kind of opened up, and then bent down and slapped her. Well, I kind of lost my mind for a second and didn't know why I was there. Because that kind of threw me, because you don't see that often. So that, I was thrown. Part two. I used to work at a hotel. I was working at some hotel property somewhere in the Sacramento area, and checking in softball teams for a tournament in the area. And there was, a lot of mothers wanting and families wanting to check in early. It's girls softball. And one of the girls, about 14-year-old, looked at her mother and said, "Why? Why? You're such a bitch." The women of color, Mexican, Black, Chinese, paused with an ugly look on their faces. Meanwhile, the mother, who's white, "Don't say that to me." And you could see them, all of them. I mean, I'm back there and I'm witnessing all the people in the lobby, and you could see them like going, "Are you kidding me?" Now, some of you say that's a racist thing. That was my experience that day. Now, I travel all over the United States. There's something about the West Coast. I don't remember much about the East Coast. I was too young when I lived there. But something about the West Coast where I notice more of that. Now, when I get to the South, the white parents are different down South. "You said what?" and backhand the kids. I was in those who live in Texas and Oklahoma knows of Rudy's, I think it's Rudy's Cafeteria. I saw these mothers go ham on their daughters. No, I'm not advocating physical violence. And in some cases, people in California, don't send me ugly emails, that these children are not beaten on a regular basis or physically punished on a regular basis. It only takes one time. I remember I was always a giant guy, like I am today. I was a giant kid. By the time I was kindergarten, I was 5 feet tall. Imagine the teacher giving me my birthday spanking. I almost broke her lap. And by the time I was entered middle school, I was over 6 feet. But I was terrified of my mother. I didn't cuss until I was well out of her house and going to college in another town, because my mother would take me out anytime, any place, anywhere. And so I always had respect for my mother. Did she beat me on a regular basis? Absolutely not. But I knew violence was always an option. Now, there's some of you, well, you should talk to your children. And I believe that. I believe that violence should be absolutely, positively the last thing. And I don't believe somebody getting a 2x4 or something and do that to their kids. I love my kids. And anytime I've had to spank them, it was like the absolute last before I did that. But I was afraid of my mother. I thought my mother could read my mind. I remember one day she made me so mad, and in my brain I called her a punk. And I was worried all day that she had read my mind, because my mom was a silent assassin. She was mad, but she didn't go on like, I'm going to whoop you and such and such and such and such. There'd be dinner, I'd do my chores, we're watching the Wonderful World of Color, for those old enough to know that, on TV. And she goes, everything all right? Well, I need you to dump the garbage and put your pajamas on. I forgot about it. Whatever I did, I forgot about it. And next thing you know, the ninjas has her belt in her hand. And everything would rush back to me. And before I could say, Ma, it's over. Followed by, but I could count I didn't get beatings on a regular basis, or spankings on a regular basis. Maybe once a year, because she had my attention. So I say this not, again, I'm not advocating beating, and I'm certainly not saying that all white people are this, all black people are this, all people of color, for whatever reason, and this is just my experience, are more assertive or maybe more aggressive. However, if I go down south, Caucasian women and families are the same. So for me, it's a West Coast thing. Again, I hope you don't see this as racist. This is just my observation. But families of color across the board, whether it was a flip-flop or something, there was that thread of control. And we respected our parents. So that's where I end here today. Again, I hope I didn't insult anybody. But yeah, I blacked out, so I didn't buy anything at the store. I guess I didn't need it. But you don't see that often. But Grandma was not a young lady. And she knocked that kid into the soda cooler to the point, and then she wasn't done. So it's like, that young girl will never, whatever she said in Tagalog, she will never say again in front of her mother or her grandmother. Because her grandmama's got one thing: I don't play. This is Rodfather, wishing you love, joy, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching. Please be happy. It is a choice. And I'm out. Bye.